Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the morning briefing. Although this could be the obituary column today. I'm Jeff DeForest. That is Mike Lubie Lubitz. He was far more pessimistic than I was about the outcome of the Panthers Edmonton Oilers game. Everybody in the world, every bookmaker is on edge right now. They're all on the razor's edge because the world has the Panthers in sync. But don't look at it as a loss. Look at it as a way to finally get the better of your bookie. Now, you're betting legitimately, and you're not going the route of the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani, that Matsuhara or whatever his name was. Bet Online would be your number one source for the NBA Finals, which are over now, so I'm taking the Celtics. And the Stanley Cup playoffs this season. They're probably posting odds already. I'm sure that there are several lines out about the matchup for next year's NBA Finals. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. I saw this yesterday. ESPN, as soon as Conor McGregor scored a goal, they put up plus 7,500 for him to be the Conn Smythe Trophy winner as the MVP of the finals. It's like, yeah, you know what? Let me make a call right now. I'll go ahead and lay some money on that. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the games of blackjack and poker that they offer, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot game opportunities. Head to the website today to get in on all the action. You can use the promo code, and I would suggest this adamantly. But Believe, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. They're going to add 50% to your account. Bet Online. The game starts here. People are gargling with embalming fluid today. Let's get to the passing of Willie Mays first, and then we'll get into this Panther game, Lubie. You were not around during the Say Hey Kids career. I was, and it was a very important component of my sports background, in the sense that Willie Mays broke into the major leagues in 1951. Mickey Mantle broke into the major leagues with the Yankees in 1951. The Giants at the time were playing in New York. They moved out in 1958, right around the time that I was 7 years old. You also had the Dodgers playing in New York, because guess what? Not only did Mays and Mantle come along in 1951, DeForest came along in 1951. So my early cognizant memories of Major League Baseball involved probably you could make a case that any one of the three. I don't know that Duke Snider would be in the conversation as the greatest center fielder of all time. Mickey Mantle, of course, everybody knows his career was compromised by injuries. Otherwise, Lord knows. It's kind of like the 3 years that were missing from Muhammad Ali's professional boxing career. And then when he came back, he really wasn't quite the same. Didn't have the speed, he didn't quite have the reflexes. He was taking a lot of shots, probably sad to say, led to the CTE and the Parkinson's that he was experiencing later on and mostly throughout his post-boxing career. But we would have never known how great the guy was. Angelo Dundee used to say this to me all the time. Yes, we were friends with Angelo Dundee. He resided here in South Florida where we are, got to know him. He was one of the first guys I got to know when I moved to South Florida, because my first move, Lubie, was to say, how the fuck can I get into the business? And I was a big boxing fan. I'd done a lot of work in the boxing game when I was living in California. So the first move I made, I go down to the Fifth Street Gym in Miami Beach. It was a Fable gym, probably personified and most well-remembered for the picture of Muhammad Ali with the Beatles. Did you ever see that picture? Where the Beatles go to the Fifth Street Gym in Miami Beach, and they're making an appearance here in Miami, and they take a picture, a very candid picture, which supposedly they did reluctantly, and they weren't big fans of Muhammad Ali. I guess they got to appreciate where the man was coming from. But, Angelo Dundee was always saying, hey, you can't forget about these 3 years. Who knows what this guy would have been? And we could say the same thing about many baseball players of that era. Willie Mays broke in 51, had to spend 2 years in the military, and then came back and kind of established his career in 54. But the big debate was, who's the best center fielder in New York? And I, naturally being a Yankee fan at the time as a little kid, was adamantly advocating for the fact that Mickey Mantle, what was that guy? And we kind of resented the people with the Mays arguments. I don't know that it was quite as bad as debating a MAGA Republican about the relative merits as a human being of Donald Trump, where, within 2 sentences, you guys are like screaming at each other. But that's kind of, it was a very heated and passionate debate and conversation in New York. My first glove, Lubie, was a Willie Mays model, although I'm tending to doubt that it was even a close, reasonable facsimile of what Mays actually wore. But there was no kid that didn't at some point in time take one off the chest or maybe even in the balls trying to make the basket catch Everybody mimicked Willie Mays. You were running for a ball, even though you were going to catch up to it easily. What'd you do? You knocked your hat off like Willie Mays always had the hat flying in the winds at Candlestick. And in the end, Lubie, and in the end, I think even the most diehard of Yankee fans would have to admit that from a career standpoint and as an all-around player, Willie Mays might have been the greatest of them all in terms of Major League Baseball. I mean, you could make that case very distinctly that Willie Mays might have been the greatest baseball player ever from an all-around standpoint. And that's exemplified by the Vic Wertz catch, of course, Polo Grounds. I remember going there when the Mets first came into existence, Lubie. The Polo Grounds, what was the Mets home park until they built Shea in 64. So 1962, 1963, we were schlepping to the Polo Grounds, and it was like 610 feet to center field. Jesus. And Mays, you must have seen this catch a zillion times. So we're back to the plate, makes the catch, and then in one motion, turns and throws. And I think he nailed the guy at second base. It was an incredible play all the way around. And it kind of really brought to light just how talented and how amazing this guy was. And you had to come to respect him. He was one of those ball players, much like Jerry West, who passed away. We're losing legends right and left here, Lubie. Yep. Where even if he was the nemesis of your favorite team, and he was the guy that people argued, your favorite player was better than this guy, and people would come back and go, no, he ain't better than Jerry West. Those two guys were in that category where no matter how much flack you had to take trying to defend your favorite team or player, you had to respect those two guys as being just legends and being great at what they did. So rest in peace, Willie Mays. He made 93. My buddy's father says nobody makes it out of their 90s. 93, if it was flashing on the board right now, I'm about to hit 73. I would take it. Wouldn't you, Louie? 93, they post 93 for you. You're thinking, all right, I'll take it. Yeah. Imagine this, too. I mean, how different is the world today? Willie Mays was actually banned from baseball for a while for representing a casino. Now you've got Rob Manfred, and he's got a DraftKings shirt on while he's got FanDuel tattooed on his head. Trying to figure out how to convince people that all games are on the level. What are you kidding me? I think that's why they got Angel Hernandez out of the game. Impropriety, is being suggested all the time. All right, so let's get to this, Lubie, and we're going to have Troy West. We're going to connect with him. He's been on fire since he's come on the show as our Wednesday Degenerate. He has been 4-0. I believe he gave out 2 winning baseball games, and then last week he had the Celtics and the under in the game that took place on Wednesday night, I think, of that week, or maybe it was Thursday, but nonetheless, he hit both. So the man's come on the show and established a nice 4-0 start, which was kind of like what happened in the game last night, Lubie. I know you were, you couldn't have been any more upset. How disgusting is it, too, to have a 2-game start with a shorthanded goal by the opposition when you're about to wrap up the cup? The celebration was on here in South Florida. Champagne was on ice. The Stanley Cup was about to be wheeled out there. Big Jack beating the drum. I thought that was pretty cool, except nobody's going to mistake Jack Nicklaus for Keith Moon. That they have this big bass drum, that is popular. You get it with a lot. Did the Golden Knights start that thing? Who started that thing where somebody comes out and beats like a big bass drum? Boom, 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 boom. And they all go, "Let's go Panthers."
Yeah, I'm trying to, because they do it. I'm like, they didn't start this. I'm trying to think of who did. I think of what the Golden Knights. I know definitely did it. I don't know.
We copy everything here. You know that. We stole the worst song in the history of sports, the worst theme song for a team. The Miami Dolphins stole the song from the Houston Oilers at the time. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins. Every time that plays, I'm disappointed that the team scored. That's how bad that song is. We had the worst song and the worst mascot for a long period of time. But all that being said, Lubie, I mean, my saying, I love the smell of panic in the morning. At what level is your panic right now if you had to rate it on a scale of, say, 0 to 10? What do you think with the Florida Panthers?
It's so funny because, and it's what I wasn't letting go. Heading into game 4, I actually had a lot of confidence because they had controlled the series and they had played. It's not, look, hockey's a weird fucking sport where you can dominate and still lose. So it's for me, it's hard to get confident about anything in that sport. But the way the Panthers were playing, where even when they were giving up stupid ass goals with a guy hitting it away from the net off a guy's back as he's pushing a guy, they were controlling the action. So it's like, you know what? If they can continue to control the action, eventually they're going to win games. It's what we've seen all playoffs long. What was concerning about game 4 was they didn't control the action. What was concerning about game 4 is they sort of laid down. And you can say Oilers, oh, they're not going to give it up easy. Well, duh, it's a Stanley Cup. But to me, the Panthers and people weren't wrong when they were saying they're just a better team. But what they missed was they're human beings, and human beings, as much as you can control something, you can also, start to not only get cocky, but it's not even that. It's just it's hard to falsify desperation. And one team being down 0-3, one team being up 3-0, there's only so much you can create in your head. All the false narrative. Well, really, we're dead. Don't worry about the up 3-0. Whatever athletes do. And the reality is you're up 3-0. And that scared me because it was like, this team has played with so much intensity the whole playoffs. Can they keep it up 3-0? No, they couldn't. They were a fucking sieve in game 4. But I was like, okay, fine. You're going to lose a game. Look what the Celtics did. Okay. But you have to play with a little bit of pride, right? Like, you have to go, okay, we've given up 5 fucking goals. We have to stop it here. No, that's why I couldn't get over going into game 5, where everyone says, oh, it's just a game. Yeah, if it was 5-2, it's just a game, not 8-1. 8-1 is you not even being on the goddamn ice. It's fucking hockey. And they never pulled the net, the goalie. They never went empty net because they were down so much. You have the guys as big as the net. It's
kind of like when you're screaming at the ref. Stop it, ref! It's a killing. Yeah. You're watching some guy getting annihilated in the corner, or one of those MMA fights where the guy gets knocked out and he's on the ground and they're giving him the business there at Ben Dreith, and you're screaming, "Stop it already! Stop it already!" That's how that game 4 was. But I didn't expect it to carry over to that level into the early portion of game 5. Now, the encouraging thing, Lubie, was the Panthers did get back on track.
Yes.
And really dominated the second half of that game. Had their chances, had a lot of opportunities. Stuart Skinner, who I thought was by far the more vulnerable of the 2 goalies in the series, stood up pretty well. He faced a lot of adversity, a lot of very dangerous scoring opportunities, and they couldn't quite push it across. What's amazing that really defines this whole Stanley Cup playoffs? This one play by Tkachuk, not a scoring play, but you had the empty net situation. It's 4-3. About 20 seconds to go in the game. And Tkachuk goes diving on the ice as the puck is about to enter the empty net with relative ease. And at the last second, he dives and has a stick on the puck and knocks it away. Now, McDavid subsequently knocked in it wasn't really a rebound, but the deflection of the shot by Tkachuk. But to see that guy sprawled flat out on the ice like that, and you're thinking this is in a losing effort in a game 5 of a Stanley Cup playoff where your team still has the lead, and you're getting that kind of effort. And even though it ended up in futility, that really I thought was a defining moment about how difficult it is to win the cup.
What the difference is of my emotion between the games. Look, after game 4, even though they were still up 3-1, it just felt that giving up 8 goals was just, to me, embarrassing. And you're up in the Stanley Cup Finals. You should not get embarrassed at any point. And that's why going into game 5, when the world's like, oh, they're going to close it out. They're going to close it out. I'm like, I'm glad you're confident. I'm not, because the way they played in that game 4 was fucking embarrassing. And that's how game 5 started. Now, actually, the reality is they dominated the first 5 minutes. They played the first 5 minutes the way I wanted them to play. For some fucking reason, they're horrible on the power play. They're actually worse on the power play, their power play, than when they have 5 guys. And the minute they were on the power play, I got nervous. I'm like, oh, fuck. Because
I think it might be true, Lubie, that the Oilers have scored more on the Panthers power play than the Panthers have converted.
Yeah, I think so. I think they only have
I think they have 1 goal on a power play or something.
Well, they may have gotten a goal last night. I don't know. I think it's 2-2, like that on shorthanded goals versus their own power play. Like, they just get lax and they don't bring the intensity. And from that point on, they played like utter fucking garbage until the middle of the second period. And they got down 4-1. And then when I was like, I was like, okay,
you were thrown in the towel. Yeah.
They're in trouble now. And they woke up. And I was like, interesting. They played with fucking urgency the last 35 minutes that I don't know where it went for a game and a half, but the Oilers did nothing the rest of the game, and they dominated, and they almost came back. The refs were horrendous in that game. And it's rare to say that about a hockey game, but I think it was like 8 penalties to 3. The worst one was at the end when the Panthers were fucking, what was it? The middle of the third period where the Panthers had made it 4-3. They were back in it, and Tkachuk gets fucking tripped, clear trip in the middle of the ice, does nothing illegal, and somehow he committed a penalty too. And instead of the Panthers going 5-on-4, and they had all the momentum at that point, and I felt like, oh shit, they're going to score if they get this power play. They made it 4-on-4 for some fucking reason. Made 0 sense. And then the other one was 7.5 minutes. The Panthers were fucking barraging Skinner. And the one thing we've seen is when they go after Skinner like that, within 2 minutes, they're going to score a fucking goal. Right then, out of nowhere, they got a power play, a penalty that didn't happen. Nothing happened illegal. They did nothing illegal with 7.5 minutes left. And out of nowhere, that's 2 minutes now in the middle of your aggression that's taken away. They didn't give up a goal.
That was very deflating, no doubt.
Oilers, I don't think, got an opportunity. But now you have to change your strategy. Then you have to ramp it back up. And from that point on.
And you lose 2 minutes off the clock.
Yes. Instead of having 7.5 minutes where you could just beat the shit out of the guy, it changed everything. But
this is odd, though, just to interject something here, because you're onto something. But what's ironic about it is I got a text from one of our good friends who follows all of this minutia, and he has the refs records.
Yeah, I know.
The Florida Panthers were 14-0-1 in their last 15 games under ref Dan O'Rourke, who was the official last night, including 5-0 in the postseason so far. Yes. The Oilers were 0-5 this postseason when O'Rourke is working. And he was working the game last night. Now, I don't know. I am with you. They call some tacky stuff. I'm not complaining about it. I don't think officiating was the difference in the game. It was just that horrendous start where Edmonton was able to not only get the shorthanded goal, which is a killer. Think about that. I mean, essentially, that is the difference in the game.
Yes.
If they don't have to overcome that, they get down 3-0. They come back. They get the Kachuk goal. It's 3-1. And you're thinking, wow, next goal wins this game. Edmonton scores. It's 4-1. Now it's starting to look a little bit more insurmountable. But 14 seconds later, you get Rodriguez. Where'd this kid come from? Unbelievable. Another Bill Zito pickup before the season started. Somewhat of a journeyman, and he's become a dynamo. Now 4-2, and as you said, all the momentum was with the Florida Panthers at that point. They were literally beating the shit out of the Edmonton Oilers, who I don't know that they were sitting on it, content with the lead, or they just ran out of gas at that point, but there was a dramatic turnaround, and if you were scoring it as a fight, you would have given that second half a unanimous decision to the Florida Panthers. But, yeah, it was interesting. You think O'Rourke had gotten the business from Chuck Knobloch there, and he had said, hey, listen, this record looks a little bogus. Almost looks like the fix is in every time I'm officiating one of this team's games. So maybe, what was he, over-liberalized towards calling stuff on the Cats last night?
Look, the reality is ESPN holds the rights to both NBA and the
I didn't mean you throw a political debate in there about
I don't know. Look, you can beat a team and the refs. Like, it happens. It's just hard. And ESPN holds the rights to both the NBA and the NHL. There's no way in fucking hell they wanted both games ending in 5 games. Now, the Panthers still could have won last night. They didn't lose because of the refs, but the refs made it very difficult on them. Anytime they had any momentum, there was a penalty, and it was a dumb penalty, and it was something that you never call in the Stanley Cup Finals, especially on a team's home ice. Like, I have to look at the numbers, but there's no way the penalties were even close.
They did call a couple of penalties while Edmonton was on a power play, though.
They did.
So, it wasn't like it was overwhelming what the Panthers had to overcome. But, yeah, that call late in the game, I'm looking at it, and you're thinking, it's going to get crazy when they go 6-on-5 at the end of the game and pull the goalie. And you're thinking, geez, this whole game is going to be contingent on whether Edmonton can tip a puck away and maybe get the empty netter. Otherwise, I think the way they were swarming in on Skinner, they were probably going to score. And they had a couple of opportunities. The empty netter that hits the post is always particularly futile. The over players were happy in this game last night because they were cashing very early on. I think the over-under was 5 and hook. But now you have to schlep all the way back to Edmonton, Lubie. So as we stand, setting it up for the upcoming game number 6, are we going to cash our tickets? Is the world going to cash, or are the bookies going to prevail on the theory that the Panthers were the better team and we're going to win in 6 games?
What's funny is 3-1, obviously, 3-1 heading home is obviously, in theory, better than 3-2 heading to fucking Edmonton. Logically, I know that. But watching game 4 and then watching the end of game 5, I feel totally different about the results because the Panthers found their game again. And that was my concern was you're down 4-1. If you fucking lose this game 6-1 or 6-2, you're in trouble. But the fact that they were able to wake up for a period and a half and really control the action and were this fucking close from coming back 4-1, the Oilers still have the momentum. Don't get me wrong. I'm not naive, but they got themselves a little bit of momentum. It was like almost the Oilers at the end of game 3, when they got those 2 stupid ass goals. And I didn't think it meant anything, but people in the hockey world were like, no, it was important for them to do something there. It was important for the Panthers to do something there. It was important for the Panthers to show some fucking life and to show, look, fuck the refs, fuck Connor McDavid. We're not losing this goddamn cup. We may lose this game, but we're not losing this cup. And I actually feel a lot more emboldened after that game than I did after game 4. I mean, because it wasn't that they lost. Look, the Celtics lost. It was how they lost 8-1. Like, you don't give up 8 fucking goals in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, and at one point there, when the Edmonton Oilers went up 4-1 in the game, you're looking at 12-2 in terms of goals in a short span. Let's bring in our man, and this is it. Forget about talking about losing and the death of Willie Mays. We want to talk about winning and winning money. And this guy's been sending it in for us here the last couple of weeks on the show. I guess this is now his 4th appearance here on the program. Nothing but winners so far, including what I think was a 2-component parlay with the Celtics and the under on last week's show. That was great. We welcome Troy West all the way from the city of Seattle into the program, and he's getting up at like 3 in the morning. It's incredible to do the show with us. Troy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I hear the cost of living is expensive out in Florida, so I figured I'd jump on and try to put a little extra money in the Florida Lights pockets.
We had a little measure of confidence last night, I'd have to say, and I knew it was probably a premature evaluation on my part, as I thought, you know what, the way things were going, I'm shrugging off the 8-1 loss in Game 4 to the Edmonton Oilers. They were going to get a game at some point. You had to assume. Everybody that was handicapping the series, I don't know where you stood on this thing, was saying Panthers in 6. So to get to that point, they had to lose 2 games, one of which was going to be Game 4. And I guess the assumption then would be that many of us thought that there was a strong possibility they would lose last night, at least at one time. But I felt pretty comfortable about it, and then sure enough, they get hit with a haymaker right at the start and end up down 3-0 in the game. Did you catch this action, and are you inclined to wager on NHL postseason games?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we've been on the Panthers from the start of the series. I still feel good about it. I did think they'd get it home, but it's amazing. Hockey, I don't have the exact statistics in front of me, but home ice just doesn't really seem to matter a whole heck of a lot. No. These guys, once they get on the ice, it's kind of like they just block everything out. So I'm still very confident. I think the Panthers are, they've got enough veterans on that team to get it together. They're well coached. I think they're the better team in the series, but yeah, momentum's definitely shifted without a doubt. We'll see what happens, but and I hate these 2-day layovers, by the way. I mean, let's take a day off and get going again, right? Unbelievable. I saw that if they go to a Game 7, they'll have another 2 days off.
Yes.
So Game 7's in August, I think. So it's unbelievable, but I still feel good about the Panthers.
You have to figure, though, you got to get your sea legs back after traveling and schlepping 3,000 miles across the country. Here's Edmonton. They're on the plane. They're sucking down whale blubber. They end up here. It's 90 degrees outside, and it's a different atmosphere altogether. And I thought actually we paid a visit yesterday to a facility I didn't even know existed. It's the Panthers practice rink. And, you're looking at this and going, my God, these guys have to feel so comfortable going into this game tonight, having had a couple of days to relax at home, while the Oilers are on the road and on the edge, the razor's edge of being eliminated from the series. One mistake could do them in, but they come out and they hit them hard. And so now we have a Game 6. Were you one of the people that's about to cash on Panthers in 6? Because the rest, I think every bookmaking operation will be out of business. I'm hoping that BetOnline survives this, because I do believe that the world has the Panthers in 6 in this series.
I'm not going to say that I had them in 6, but I did take them at the start of the series, and I'm still very confident. But yeah, it will be interesting that Edmonton, boy, that place is going to be rocking. It'll be interesting to see. Sometimes having I was talking to an ex-athlete. Sometimes having that crowd behind you adds that extra element of pressure behind you as well. And it adds that extra element to the road team, kind of having that chip on the shoulder. So it's not always a good thing to have home ice in a big game like that, especially with obviously a Canadian team never winning the Stanley Cup. There's that added pressure for sure for Edmonton. So I think Florida does get it done in 6.
All right, now your tag, your moniker is Troy Wins, and that's all you've been doing here on the show. So we want to get to it, trying to make the people some money here with our Daily Degenerate segment. And you've been cashing on baseball. The marquee game today will be Yankees-Orioles. You have Garrett Cole coming back. Would your inclination be, I was reading a couple of handicapping synopsis on this game, And people are saying, hey, you know what? Here's Cole coming back off a long layoff. Probably not going to be overwhelmingly effective. The Orioles are an underrated team in terms of the respect they get. They won the AL East last year and made it to the postseason. And this year, playing great. They were a game and a half behind the Yankees going into this 3-game series. Would you bet against Garrett Cole in this game today? Would that be your first instinct?
I think so, because you never know with these pitch counts too, right? So if he has a couple long innings early in the game, I can't imagine he's going to go more than 4 or 5 innings. I'll be curious if Aaron Judge plays. He got hit on the hand. Looks like X-rays came back negative. But is he going to play, or will they give him a couple days off? So I would probably lean on the Orioles. Having a guy like Cole come back is huge for the Yankees, but he's definitely going to be on a pitch count for sure.
All right, so what do you have for us today? I don't know if that's going to be one of your targets, but how can we make some money today, Troy West?
A team that you guys probably don't follow too closely. They're hotter than a pistol right now is the Seattle Mariners. They are up in the AL West. I'm actually fading them today, though. I'm going with the Guardians. Going with the Guardians today. Tanner Beebe on the bump. He's been solid all year. The Guardians are at home. They lost yesterday. Brian Wu takes the bump for the Seattle Mariners. He was scratched last week from his start with tightness in his forearm. He does make the start today. This is another guy that I think is going to be on a pitch count today. Mariners bullpen is not good, and it's banged up. Give me the Guardians. I love it today. Guardians on the money line. They're roughly about minus 130, maybe minus 135. But the Guardians are our official pick for the week.
All right. We got the Cleveland Guardians going against the red-hot Seattle Mariners. Troy going against the hometown team here. And then, of course, you are handicapping all kinds of stuff and have great stuff on your website. Where can people plug into that?
Yeah, appreciate it. Come to TroyWins.com. We've got a little thing there you can fill out for a free pick. Follow me on Instagram at It's Troy West. We document everything there. We've been red hot. Got nicked up a little bit yesterday. Took some bad beats yesterday. Ooh, man. Real bad beats yesterday with the Texas Rangers up 6-2 and late in the game. They can't close out a game either. But
don't tell me you have the Cardinals also. Did you have the Cardinals yesterday?
I did not have the Cardinals, but I was in the casino and a guy in front of me had the Cardinals large. And the minute that walk-off went, he bolted out of that casino. He was not a happy man.
They were up big early in the ball game, and I kept turning away watching the Panther game, and I just happened to flick it on during one of the breaks, and here's this walk-off base hit. And this is a team that we heavily recommended to people. You play the under on the season total. And I'm wondering how soon. Mathematical elimination on winning 79 games has to be right around the corner for this team. But I'm not saying we were sweating this win, because they're on a 333 pace or something like that, which equates out to 54 victories. So I think we had that one in the bag, but had to be particularly frustrating. I know there had to be people ready to pop a cyanide cap that had the Cardinals, thinking that the Marlins were going to extend their losing streak to 7 games yesterday. All right, Troy, always a pleasure, my friend. Good luck. Guardians today. That's it. That's our 5-star play. The Guardians from Troy West, all the way in Seattle.
Take it to the bank.
Always appreciate you getting up with us here on the morning briefing. Thanks so much for being with us, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, that's Troy West. The man's on fire, as we said. I always wanted to do that, Lubie. You know that was one of my career goals, is to be able to turn to my right, like Lee Pete did on Pro Line, and go, the man is on fire. So thanks so much for being with us. All right, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Morning Briefing. Troy West, we thank you for being with us. For Mike Lubie Lewitz, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we will catch you next time on the next edition of the Morning Briefing.